comprehend and really buy into. It takes a couple years. I don't see a rush to do this. Let's keep it open. Let's extend the contract.
In my life, one of my goals is to seek as many win-win situations as possible. And I think it's a shame that in this case, they sought the lose-lose. You know, neither one of them got their way the way they wanted it, and it just shut it down. I think that the natural warm mineral springs are nature. I don't think any citizen should be denied that right to be with nature and be a part of it. I think that we should keep it open during this time as we continue to talk and discuss and find the best solution for Northport and Sarasota County. And I would encourage you to continue to beseech your commissioners and be vigilant with that goal.
I cannot claim to be an expert on the issues of Warm Mineral Springs, although I am aware of it from an archaeological perspective. I have to admit that I also have in my refrigerator dirt from Little Salt Spring. So, you know, I think we have these assets, these resource assets, and we have a lot of them in Sarasota, and that's part of what makes Sarasota beautiful. I mean, our environment is our beauty, and I think it's important to be able to look at these assets and think about what's the importance of them. Is it the value of how they're enjoyed by the people that live nearby? Is it an asset from an economic standpoint for tourism? You know, how do these issues play into making sure that we make balanced decisions about how we address these natural resource assets that we have in our community? And I think it's also just another example of why it's really important for city and county government to make sure that they're communicating and working together, like Steve said, for the win-win.
I can tell you from my own experience, it's very difficult to get two governmental bodies together on the same page. And although to answer your specific question, Cynthia, I'm not sure what can be done to stop the actual operation from closing. So moving past that, I think ultimately when you have two commissions that have such a polar philosophy on this one issue, I will agree with what Ray said, is that probably the more local government has more of a proprietarial interest in the project. And if that's the case, and they wish to take forward their vision, then I believe that the county needs to divest its interest from it. I don't know how that occurs specifically, whether that's the county sells their interest to the city or so on and so forth, but I can tell you that there very clearly appears to be a very significant difference in vision. Now, aside from that, I don't believe that development, although it's a very dirty word, is going to destroy the springs. Because whoever's going to develop that, it is in their interest to maintain what it is, period. So I don't see that as any legitimate option.
Thank you. Next question. Is that Cheryl back there? Yes.
I'm Cheryl Cook, and I hold elected office, and I want to congratulate everybody out there for running, because it's a nerve-wracking and awesome responsibility. My question is, when you're up on the dais and it's time for you to vote, some of you have received special interest money. Some of you are running a grassroots organization. My question is, are you going to be able to vote your principals? Or are you going to be able to, or are you going to vote in order to...
Cheryl, I'm very sorry. I apologize. I thought you were a member of Tiger Bay. That's my error. The questions are for Tiger Bay members only. So I'm sorry to get in the middle of your question. That's my misunderstanding as to your membership. Thank you. Thank you for having an interest, though. I appreciate it. Other questions from Tiger Bay members only? Yes, Shannon.
Could you tell us what your specific, what you think the specific goal or challenge is for the county, specifically looking at South County in the next 4 years? The biggest challenge to the county.
Okay, who wants to take this question first? And you can pass the microphone among yourselves. Al, and then Paul next.
And if you let me, I'll answer the question because I think it was pointedly put to me, and I'll do it quickly. When I vote, I will look at all the police, fire, and EMT people that gave me money. I will look at I will think of the hundreds of small business owners and hundreds of retirees that have given me money. I will think about all 550 line items on my report. I will think of everyone. I will think of the business owners. As far as South County, Shannon, you and I remember when I sat at your kitchen table 20-something years ago and asked you, was one of the people asking you to run? The biggest thing is that the population is shifting. There will be probably 3 commissioners from this point forward living in South County. There's a road network that has to be built. Concurrency will cause those roads to be built by the developers. You and I have had that conversation. Those are the big issues.
10 seconds.
The people are coming. 68 million baby boomers. Florida probably will get 35% of them. And we need to just be prepared.
Thank you. Paul? Excuse me, Mr. Carajola and Mr. Mayor.
I was going to answer that as well. I can assure you that this is my first rodeo, so not only through political campaigns, but sitting at the dais, I haven't met with anyone who doesn't think that their interests are quote unquote special. That's part of representing an entire community. I have never had a problem going to bed after a commission meeting, except when I can't sleep because I'm nervous about the next meeting or what's coming up. But I follow a set of principles, and that's all there is to it. About how we take on the challenges coming towards South County. Well, you have a large critical mass population. At the end of the day, we just have to make sure the infrastructure is there to support. Because one of the things that was fairly naive to is how there is a feeling, I'm sure it's going to come as a surprise to a lot of you, that perhaps South County doesn't get what North County gets. I will endeavor to try to remediate that to the point that I can.
10 seconds.
Thank you. Mr. Rinder.
Well, engineers are problem solvers, and I also live in South County, so I very much identify with South County. I have lived in Sarasota County for 33 years. Because of my surveying profession, I probably know Sarasota County like the back of my hand. Engineers are problem solvers. We first take a look at the problem, and then we get rid of the problem, and then we find a solution to the problem. And that's exactly the way I will approach any problem which comes before the Board of County Commissioners. And I will look and find the best solution to the problem, and that's the way I'll vote. It will have nothing to do with campaign funds or anything else. Thank you.
Next. Sandra? Let's go.
I think one of the things that we need to consider, I'm concerned about what's going to happen with the South Village. I also know of many residents that are concerned about infrastructure on River Road that hasn't been done, and plus the traffic on River Road. I think one of the important things about South County that's not being talked about enough is the demographic, the age of the typical resident in South County. I think increased traffic and many of the things that go along with development greatly impact those residents, and I think that we need to look more closely at that and consider those things when we're moving forward with development in South County.
Shannon, your question was about what the main 4 issues, the issue was in the next 4 years in South County.
Challenge.
The biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is going to be infrastructure, and make sure the money that's been allocated for River Road stays at River Road and not going to Lorraine Road or anything else to support the development in Manatee County. We're going to need to keep that money and make sure it stays in Sarasota County and make sure South County does get what has been promised. I worked South County for the Sheriff's Office 30 years ago when Hops and Pops was on the corner of Dearborn, Indiana. That's before the Walgreens ever showed up. So I fully understand when Dead Man Curve coming out of Inglewood really was Dead Man's Curve. I understand River Road when it's part of the river. So I understand the environmental side of it. And that's really going to be the main thing, is to make sure that the money that's been budgeted, and that's where everything starts at, is in the budget, stays there. So whatever issue you talk about, if you're not going to be right on top of the budget and be a fiscal hawk and make sure that money stays where it's been promised, it's going to be sucked off someplace else. I won't let that happen.
I have to admit, I'm a downtowner. I have been for the last 10 years or so. When I do make it down to South County, though, I see, as my neighbors here see, infrastructure is a big part of it. We do need some road work down there. But more importantly to me, it's the community development that needs to be looked at to make sure that we have a whole life economics, where people are given the opportunities to work the jobs that make them feel purposeful, that provide more than just money for what they do, but provide them with a place to live and a place to serve and a place to connect with the other people in their community. I mean, we need the opportunity to make sure that we have a vibrant art scene down there, and that built into the infrastructure, and to give people the opportunity to also to grow food, to look at our agriculture in that area, to see how we're setting up for our future, and where our energy is going to come from, and how we're growing wisely. So I think that's a big question that you put to us. But it's largely that, of looking at just really wise community development and whole life economics.
I agree with most everything I've heard so far from the other candidates. I think I lived in South County for the first 12 years of my professional career, and it's pretty obvious. The challenges that we face, Northport's the biggest challenge is growth. Venice, it's growth. Inglewood is growth. It's always going to be growth. I mean, it's this area has changed dramatically since I lived here, and for the most part, it's changed for the better. I think there's been a lot of projects that have made sense. I was here when they were expanding 41 through downtown Venice. They were expanding the bypass. The eastern communities, the place where we are now, wasn't here when I stopped reporting back in 95, 96. So fortunately, we've had some good, clear developers who understand what the infrastructure needs are. I think, honestly, we need to compliment some of the development community. I think they've done a reasonable job. They've done a job that we've asked them to do, and they've been a good partner for the public. But that's what a commission does. They look after the public interests, and not at the expense of the private interest. Private property rights are crucial. They've always been crucial, and they're the future of our society. So, thank you.
I recently sold property I owned in South Venice, but when I purchased that property, it was for the purpose of my brother and his young family, when he retired as a New York City detective, to move down close to me. But the only jobs he can get was near Tampa, so he wound up buying something closer to Tampa. So with that experience, I really believe that the core, what we need to, because roads are very important, is economic development in South County, because it's hard for anyone, South County, to find jobs close to home. They have to travel quite a bit. So I think that will be a very important thing to go forward with.
You said the most crucial development in the next
Challenge.
the most challenge. The challenge is that we can't do what we've been doing for 50 years. We can't shift the cost of infrastructure caused by more development. We can't shift that to the taxpayers anymore because they can't pay it fast enough to avoid gridlock. Gridlock happens at certain times of the day, and it's the time of day when you want to go somewhere. And it gets real personal at that point. The shift onto the taxpayers is sometimes accomplished by bonding. But bonding is just a payday loan for the government. You have to pay not only the principal, you also have to pay the interest. No, the developers have to pay this. They have to pay it with an upfront estimate and a back audit to make sure that nothing was forgotten.
Thank you. We're closing in on time. This may be our last question. Victoria.
Yes. Hi. Can each of you please give me an example of something you worked on in Florida that you're proud of?
Anyone?
I'm most proud of all my businesses. I'm most proud of the hundreds of employees that I've had, all with great jobs and great paychecks. I'm most proud of the restaurants I built, and I just can't distinguish. If I had to pick one, I'm very, very proud of Venetian Golf and River Club. 1,599 people are going to call home where pasture was. You count 1,599 times an impact fee, times a water impact fee, times a wastewater impact fee, and bless their hearts, I see some of them still sitting here, the Venice City Council gave us an extra impact fee, 10-acre park. We designed all of this, and the developer, that bad developer, paid for every single thing from that gate in, including bringing the resources here, including building Laurel Road. Thank you.
Well, I own Mender and Associates Engineering Corporation, and we've been in business here in Sarasota County for the past 28 years. One of the best projects I have ever done in my life is the Doctors Hospital site at Bee Ridge Road and Cattleman Road. And that particular site was an old mining operation with mining pits dug all over the site, and with a large wetland right in the middle. We took that site and we also ended up mitigating all of the fill on that site because it was also in the floodplain. We took that property out of the floodplain. We built a large mitigation and wetland mitigation in the rear. We took the stormwater from that, discharged it into the wetland, recharged the wetland, then took the stormwater to a stormwater treatment and retention pond, took the water out of the retention pond, and took it to a bubbler and recharged the mitigation and wetland area that we had created in the rear.
I could talk about a lot of things, but I think what's uppermost in my mind right now is my involvement with Little League. It's a small part of our world. If you don't have kids in baseball, it probably it's something you never experience. But working with those kids, coaching the kids, and then getting on the board and trying to improve the Sarasota Little League has been a passion of mine. It's been a love of mine. It's really, again, unless you're out there, you see the looks in the kids' faces and you see the joy they get out of the game, and the interaction with the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles and visitors who've never been to Sarasota. They come out there and they see the beautiful grass and the competition in the games. It's just a fun experience to work on that and try and improve that as I've done over the last 3 years, and hope to continue for the foreseeable future. Thanks.
I'm proud of being part of Sarasota County. Prior to coming to Sarasota, I was kind of shy. I was working, just focused on, day-to-day things. And then coming to Sarasota, there's one thing that Sarasota brings is they bring an openness so you feel engaged, you do feel listened to, and you really feel part of the process, and they're very open to that. And even though I butt heads with the county commission from time to time, I love the fact that this community is so engaged, and I like being a part of it. I actually have surprised my family when I tell them what I'm doing, and you're doing what? Because they don't see me as the type of person to go out there and fight for a cause. But Sarasota brings that environment, and I'm really proud to be part of that environment.
Yeah, your question was, what am I most proud of what I've done for Florida? And the direct question answer to that for me is, I raised my family here. My daughter's a graduate of the University of Florida. She's now in graduate school wanting to be a physician's assistant. My son just graduated from Florida State University. The next one's in at University of South Florida, so I've got all the t-shirts. I got three teenage daughters who will tell you point blank what it is. You guys aren't even close to tough till you meet those girls. And I'll tell you, they'll tell you what they think of you real quick, like and how you're dressed and what tie you should wear and everything else. So what am I most proud of? I've got 5 productive, wonderful kids that are going to come out here, live in the state of Florida, be productive. And you know what? I'm praying that all of us live here because my wife and I don't want to travel to visit grandkids later on. So if you want to know what I'm most proud of, I'm most proud of my family because they're all great kids. They're wonderful, and I couldn't be more proud of them. And if that won't compare to anything I'll ever do as a city commissioner, mayor, or county commissioner, I'm most proud of my family. That's the best thing I've done for Florida is raise good kids.
As a family, we've had 5 restaurants in this community, 2 in other communities. We're very proud of that. We employ lots of people. Once we get hold of employees, we keep them. They stay for a long, long time. We have done this while maintaining a very small footprint. We like to reuse a lot of stuff. We buy mostly local. stuff for all of our restaurants. We have sustainability plans specifically for water in all the restaurants. We're good corporate partners. We've never taken any economic development money or any tax incentives, something that I'm just vehemently opposed to. This should be an attractive enough place that people come to start their business or increase their business because it should be attractive, not because we should throw money at it. We're very proud of what we've done in this community, and the fact that people are still eating in our restaurants and nobody's getting sick, at least that I know about, is a good thing. So we look forward to going on and on for a long time.
I would say I'm most proud of my youth mentoring. Like I mentioned earlier, I started a nutrition-based self-esteem program for young girls. I worked for 6 years with Girl Scouts and Girls Inc. and Just for Girls, and I also ran summer camps where I gave scholarships to the girls at Guardian Ad Litem. And I've continued even after I ended that business to mentor youth at our schools. I've taught young people how to make films and also taught them some farming and organic gardening skills. And I really think that youth are an important thing that we need to focus on. I'd like to see us find affordable housing for our youth. It bothers me that I've raised my son here. I send him to college here, and I'm probably going to have to ship him someplace else for a job. I really think that, like Shannon, you know, I like my kids to stay close by. Maybe they can go away and have some experience, but I think it would be really nice if they could come back and find a job. And so I think that's something we need to do, is we need to really look at ways to retain our youth.
I think that I'm most proud of being one of the people that brought the Commonwealth Time Bank to Sarasota. Time banking started in the 80s. Edgar Kahn was a law professor who sought another way for the elderly population to be taken care of, because we have commoditized so many of the things that we used to do as family. We used to do things just because we loved one another. It was a human thing. Now we pay other people to do all those kind of things, from child care to caring for the elderly. And he initiated this so that everyone will be taken care of. And to see it now coming out on ABC News, where they had a report on it a few weeks ago, I saw an article in it today on Yahoo, where more and more people are talking about it. Almost 400 communities around America have adopted a time banking system. We are almost at 400 members ourselves. And to see this new opportunity for people to care for one another and become an integrated community where everyone is an asset, where everyone receives respect, where helping goes better as a two-way street, reciprocity is valued, is a great source of pride for me. And we are getting ready to unveil 8,760 paper time dollars out to the community to help that grow more.